Okay, so now I also have some books that talk about life at school. And here is a picture of the whole school. And I was saying, look at that. Long ago, schools were small. So there would be one schoolhouse, it's called, and all the kids, no matter what their age, shared one teacher. And they would sit in the room, and the youngest kids would sit in the front, and the oldest kids in the back. And you would be doing work all by yourself most of the day. And the teacher would call your age group up when she was ready to teach you something. And you would not want to get in trouble because do you know what the teacher did? There were a couple things that teachers did, and I learned this from visiting a schoolhouse and hearing stories that people passed down. One thing would be that you might have to stand in the corner in front of everybody, and you would have to just stand there staring at the corner. Sometimes there was a stool, and you had to wear a big pointy paper hat that said dunce, which means like stupid. Would you like to wear a hat that says stupid in front of everybody?
No.
And another thing that would be bad is that they would take a wooden ruler or a stick and they'd smack your knuckles with it.
What's the knuckles?
Your knuckles are these bony parts of your hand. Would you like to have the teacher smack your hand with a wooden paddle? Me neither. Plus, also, sometimes they did spankings. But they actually, that's enough. They would use like a skinny stick and they would smack you and it hurt really bad. So the teacher might give you a punishment, and then when you got home, you probably got another whipping from your dad for misbehaving at school. So that was not good. Sometimes in the past, kids wore uniforms. Kids can wear uniforms now too, but you'll see that these are all suits. Sometimes there were schools that were for like the one-room schoolhouses that had little kids up to big kids. Sometimes there were fancy schools that the kids even lived at. Or there'd be a school for boys and a school for girls. But they didn't have high school for everybody. So you went to elementary school, but if your mom and dad needed your help on the farm or something, then you would have to miss school. Okay? A long time ago, people didn't have to go to school, which is kind of sad because would you be able to get a good job and be able to do much if you never learn to read? No. So, let's see, what else? Oh, here's gym class at school. Is that what our gym class looks like?
No.
Look at the clothes they're wearing too.
No. Wait, we have to wear them too?
And if I was your teacher, then I was the only teacher. So that means I'm your music teacher, your gym teacher, your art teacher, your history teacher, your math teacher, everything. Yeah. And you spend a lot of time sitting at your desk quietly and working by yourself a lot of the school day. And let's see what else we can learn about life at school. Long ago, the teacher is ringing the bell. You had better run the rest of the way to school. School is about to begin. One-room schoolhouses were common in the early 1900s. So like over 100 years ago, most people went to a one-room schoolhouse. They served farm families who lived within 4 miles. And usually there were not ever more than 25 kids in the school, so it's pretty small. Now a lot of schools are in the cities, and so everybody like rides the bus and goes to a school in the city. But you would be, if you were to a one-room schoolhouse, you'd be in the same class with your brothers and sisters, which could be fun and maybe not so fun. Here, this shows the teacher ringing the bell that recess is done, and you can see the kids playing. They didn't have a lot of toys. They didn't have slides. They didn't Maybe you'd have a tree with a swing in it if you were lucky. Let's see, what else? This shows girls sitting on one side of the school and the boys on the other. And everybody had a desk, a blackboard, a flag, and maps. And then you'd have a big stove or a fireplace to keep your school warm. There weren't any computers. Here's some kids holding their slates like I showed you. So sometimes the teacher would have you write on your slate and then you would show her your answers. A lot of times the teacher was a lady and you did a lot of memorizing. So you'd memorize poems and you'd memorize stories and that would be your homework. So that's kind of different now. Here's kids eating lunch around the stove. So in the winter, remember it's so cold, so they would maybe gather close to the stove to eat their lunch. Okay, so are there any more questions about school in the past? Ellie?
What did the book bags look like?
Oh, they didn't have book bags. They would just carry, they didn't have much, so they probably just carried their slate, and maybe they had a book. Nope. But they might have like a strap or a belt that they would kind of hook them together and they would carry them like that. Yeah, they didn't have very much to carry though. So we learned this. Why do they have fireplaces? Do we figure that out?
Warm.
To stay warm. Why do they not have tables? Because they had desks, and you could see in some of your pictures, the desk was kind of cool because the front had a seat that flipped down, and then the back of your seat was the desk for the next person, and there would even be a little hole in the desk so that you could put your ink in there and your quill. And you know one of the naughty things that sometimes people did to girls? Girls, remember, had long hair. Sometimes they dipped their braid in the ink. Isn't that naughty? Let's see. Why is there a map? Because that's how they learned about the world and where places were. They did not have word wall. Nope, they did not. They would have words on the chalkboard, and they would have those little learning cards like that. Why? Oh, I think the one picture with the desks just doesn't have any kids sitting there. Lots of questions about desks. Did they have books? They did have a few books, but mostly they shared everything, and they would do a lot of learning by having the teacher write on the board. They would not have had like art class probably unless it was like part of science class, like drawing leaves or animals and stuff. And in some places, even now, if people don't have money, do you know what they use for writing? A stick in the dirt. And they would practice writing in the dirt because it doesn't cost anything. Why do some of the kids have no shoes in the picture? That's because some families didn't have enough money for shoes. So you just were barefooted. Yep. Okay, I think we answered all the questions. Does anybody have any new questions, though, now that we've just looked at the books and the pictures? Scarlett.
Did they have any flowers?
In the classroom? Sometimes kids would bring a treat for the teacher, so you might pick some flowers on your way to school or bring her an apple. Ellie?
Did they have markers?
Nope.
Scissors? Pencils?
I think the teacher would have scissors, probably not the kids. Pencils, yes. Yep, Ellie?
Would they have like a name tag?
Good question. I don't think they would have a long time ago, but the teacher usually lived with one of the kids' families, and she would know you really well, and she would be your teacher every year until she got married. But only girls that weren't married were really allowed to be teachers. And there were some men teachers, but mostly it was women teachers.
Wait, so if they got married, someone else would be a teacher?
Yeah. Yep. I
You
know.
know how to be married to be a teacher?
And a long time ago, remember how we talked about sometimes the rules were different for girls and boys, and like girls had to wear dresses. They also, people made a rule that moms weren't allowed to work. They could only stay at their house and take care of their husband and their children.
How would they make money?
They didn't. Just the dad took care of everybody. I know. It wasn't really fair. So I'm really glad that times have changed, because I don't know about you girls, but I want to be able to work if I want to and make money if I want to. And it was kind of a rule that most girls just had to get married. That's what your parents wanted for you. And sometimes they even picked your husband. Ew.
Ew.
I know.